There is a moment you will recognize if you have lived long enough and paid close enough attention. It is the quiet, disorienting moment when someone you thought you knew becomes, for all intents and purposes, a stranger. It is not the gradual drift of growing apart, which has its own gentle, sorrowful logic. No, this is something else. This is a sudden shift in the emotional weather. A door that was once open is now shut, and you hear the definitive click of the lock from the other side. The warmth in their eyes cools into something polite and distant. The ease of conversation stiffens into a formal exchange. They have changed, seemingly overnight, and you are left standing in the emptiness where a connection used to be, wondering what you missed. We often tell ourselves that people are consistent, that character is a stable entity, that the face a person shows us is their true face. We build our relationships, our trusts, our lives on this assumption of continuity. But this is a comforting fiction, a narrative we impose on the beautiful, terrifying chaos of human consciousness. The truth is far less orderly. People do not change suddenly, they reveal suddenly. What you perceive as an abrupt transformation is almost always the culmination of a long, silent internal process finally reaching its point of resolution. It is the tectonic plate of the self, having strained under pressure for years, finally slipping. The earthquake is sudden, the buildup was not. Consider the self not as a solid monument, but as a parliament, a room full of competing voices, desires, fears, and histories. There is the voice of your childhood wounds, whispering cautions. There is the voice of your ambitions, shouting demands. There is the voice of your conscience, the voice of your hunger, the voice of your weariness, the voice that seeks pleasure, and the voice that seeks meaning. For most of our lives, we manage a fragile coalition government. One faction may lead for a time, the ambitious self during a career push, the nurturing self when family calls. But the others are still present, debating, lobbying, exerting pressure. What you present to the world is the official policy of this uneasy coalition. You are, in essence, the public face of an internal compromise. A sudden change occurs when this parliament holds a vote of no confidence, when the ruling coalition, the set of beliefs, tolerances, and personas that have been in power, collapses. This collapse is triggered by a threshold event. The event itself may seem small to you, a missed appointment, an offhand comment, a minor disappointment. But to them, it is the 10,000th paper cut. It is the final grain of sand that makes the weight unbearable. That small event connects to a deep, hidden network of past experiences, silent resentments, and unmet needs. It is the spark that finds the long-laid trail of gunpowder. You see the explosion. You did not see the careful, patient laying of the charge. One of the most common catalysts for this internal coup is the quiet revolution of self-respect. For years, perhaps for their entire life, a person may operate from a place of perceived lack. They may believe, deep down, that they must earn love through accommodation, that their worth is conditional on their usefulness, that conflict must be avoided at all costs. In this mode, they tolerate the intolerable, they absorb disrespect, they twist themselves into shapes to fit the spaces others have left for them, they silence their own desires to maintain a fragile peace. This is the old coalition, governed by fear, led by the pleaser, the appeaser, the child who learned that safety lies in invisibility. But within them, a counter-voice grows. It is the voice of the latent self, the one who wants integrity, who aches for authenticity. This voice is fed by every swallowed insult, every suppressed dream, every moment they chose harmony over truth. It grows stronger in the silence. And then, one day, a seemingly minor event occurs. A friend takes them for granted one too many times. A partner dismisses their feelings once again. A workplace demands a sacrifice of dignity. And that counter-voice finds its strength. It stands up in the parliament of the self and says, "No more." The coalition of fear shatters. The new regime of self self-respect takes power. To you, they have changed overnight. They have become colder, more distant, less willing to comply. In reality, they have simply stopped betraying themselves. They have come home to who they always were, but were too afraid to be. The change was not in their character, but in their courage. Another profound reason for sudden change is the death of a hope they never spoke aloud. People often anchor their identity and their future to a hidden hope. It may be the hope that a critical parent will finally offer approval, the hope that a passionless partner will one day awaken with a newfound depth of love, the hope that a lifelong friend truly sees and cherishes them. This hope is a secret engine, fueling their patience, their efforts, their tolerance for emotional poverty. They endure present circumstances because of the promised future this hope represents. Then something happens that kills that hope, not with drama, but with clarity. They witness a final, indisputable piece of evidence that the approval will never come, that the partner is incapable of the depth they need, that the friendship is Another profound reason for sudden change is the death of a hope they never spoke aloud. People often anchor their identity and their future to a hidden hope. It may be the hope that a critical parent will finally offer approval, the hope that a passionless partner will one day awaken with a newfound depth of love, the hope that a lifelong friend truly sees and cherishes them. This hope is a secret engine, fueling their patience, their efforts, their tolerance for emotional poverty. They endure present circumstances because of the promised future this hope represents. Then something happens that kills that hope, not with drama, but with clarity. They witness a final, indisputable piece of evidence that the approval will never come, that the partner is incapable of the depth they need, that the friendship is a one-sided theater. The realization is a silent, internal event. It is the closing of a door they had kept open for decades. When that hope dies, the person who was built around it dies too. The behaviors that were sustained by that hope, the striving, the forgiving, the waiting, cease instantly. They have no reason to continue. The engine has seized. What replaces it is often a calm, detached emptiness. They are free, but it is the freedom of a ghost. They have lost the central narrative of their life. Their sudden change, their withdrawal, their apparent coldness is the behavioral echo of this internal death. They are in mourning for a future that will never be, and you are simply witnessing the funeral. We must also speak of the phenomenon of integration. For much of our lives, we compartmentalize. We are one person at work, competitive, driven, pragmatic. We are another at home, vulnerable, affectionate, soft. We are another with our oldest friends, nostalgic, silly, anchored in the past. These selves often hold contradictory values. The work self may cherish ambition and dominance, while the home self cherishes humility and connection. For years, we can switch between these rooms in the house of our identity, keeping the doors between them shut. We do not let the selves meet because their meeting would cause a crisis of values. Life, however, has a way of forcing integration. A crisis, a loss, a profound success, a prolonged period of solitude, these events blow the doors off their hinges. The separate selves are forced into the same room. They must confront each other. The ambitious careerist must answer to the nurturing parent. The people-pleaser must justify itself to the burgeoning individualist. This confrontation is a civil war, and it is fought in utter silence. The outcome is a new, synthesized self, a person who can no longer tolerate the cognitive dissonance of their old compartmentalized life. They may leave a career, end a relationship, or abandon a social circle, not because those things are inherently bad, but because they no longer fit the newly integrated person. The old containers cannot hold the new substance. To outsiders, this looks like a sudden, bewildering abandonment of a perfectly good life. To the person experiencing it, it is the first act of painful, necessary coherence. There is also the change born from a secret ledger finally being balanced. Most people do not keep conscious score of favors, slights, or emotional debts, but on a subconscious level, a ledger exists. It is a raw accounting of give and take, of respect and disregard, of investment and return. For a long time, a person may allow the balance to tip against them. They give more than they receive. They listen more than they are heard. They show up in ways that are never reciprocated. They do this out of love, out of low self-esteem, or simply out of a hope that the balance will one day be restored.
There comes a point where the subconscious ledger presents its final report. The deficit is too great. The emotional bankruptcy is declared. This moment is not a decision, it is a realization. The body and the heart simply refuse to extend more credit. The change is instantaneous. They stop calling, they stop initiating, they stop investing. Their energy, once freely given, is now withheld, not as a punishment, but as a necessary act of self-preservation. They are not being cold, they are being solvent. They have closed the account. You, who may have grown accustomed to the generous line of credit they offered, experience this as a sudden, inexplicable freeze. In truth, the bank has been empty for a long time. You just tried to make a withdrawal after closing hours. Fear is a master of disguise, and its most powerful costume is comfort. People will endure astonishing amounts of stagnation, dissatisfaction, and even misery for the sake of what is familiar. The known hell is often preferred to the unknown heaven. They stay in jobs that drain them, in relationships that diminish them, in patterns that harm them, because the architecture of that life, however flawed, is known. It provides a perverse sense of safety, the devil you know. Then something shifts. It might be an external shock, a death, a diagnosis, a global event that reminds them of mortality. It might be an internal whisper that grows too loud to ignore, a birthday ending in a zero, a glimpse of their own weary face in the mirror. This event breaches the walls of the familiar. For a fleeting moment, they see their life with absolute clarity, not as it is narrated by habit, but as it actually is. They see the prison they have built, day by day, from their own compromises. In that moment of clarity, fear changes allegiance. The fear of staying becomes greater than the fear of leaving. This is the pivotal flip. The energy that was once used to suppress their desires is now redirected toward liberation. The change appears sudden. They walk out, they quit, they radically alter their life's direction. But it was not the desire for change that was new. It was the fear calculus. The terror finally switched sides. They are not running towards something new. They are finally, desperately, running away from the slow death they had been courting for years. We often mistake a person's capacity for endurance for their contentment. We see someone bearing a heavy load and assume they are strong, willing, and at peace with the weight. This is a dangerous misreading of human nature. Endurance is not consent. It is often just endurance. A person can endure a loveless marriage, a toxic family dynamic, or a soul-crushing job for decades, all while a quiet fury crystallizes within them, hard and sharp as a diamond. They endure because of obligations, because of financial necessity, because of a promise they made, because they cannot see another way. But a hardened resentment is a powerful latent force. It waits, and when the conditions of endurance shift, when the last child leaves home, when a financial threshold is crossed, when the obligatory promise is technically fulfilled, the scaffolding that supported the endurance collapses. The resentment is no longer held in place. It is now free energy, and it often expresses itself not as a slow transition, but as a violent rupture. The patient wife leaves, the dutiful son cuts contact, the loyal employee quits without notice. The world cries, but they never complained. And they are right. The person did not complain. They simply stored every grievance, every slight,
every moment of dying inside in a secret vault, and on the day they became free to do so, they unlocked it, and the force of all those years blew the door off its hinges. The change seems sudden, shocking, even cruel. It is merely the long-delayed arrival of a truth that was buried alive.
Sometimes the sudden change is not in action but in perception. This is one of the most subtle and powerful shifts. A person may look at the same life, the same people, the same circumstances, but the meaning they assign to it all undergoes a catastrophic alteration. It is as if they have been looking at an optical illusion for years, seeing a vase, and in one blink, it irreversibly becomes two faces. The facts haven't changed, the interpretation has. This often happens through the acquisition of a new framework. They may undergo a profound spiritual awakening, where worldly pursuits suddenly seem empty. They may finally understand a psychological pattern, seeing how they have been replaying a childhood dynamic in all their adult relationships. They may have a brush with their own mortality that reorders all their priorities. Once this new lens is in place, it cannot be removed. They cannot unsee the faces. The vase is gone forever. Consequently, they cannot interact with their old life in the old way. The jokes that used to amuse them now seem hollow. The anxieties that used to consume them now seem trivial. The goals they pursued with desperation now seem like shadows on a wall. They have not changed their behaviors yet, but their inner world has been revolutionized. The behavioral change will follow inevitably, and it will seem sudden to those who cannot see the new lens through which they are now viewing existence. There is a brutal, unspoken rule about human relationships. They are often held together by mutual usefulness. This usefulness can be emotional, social, financial, or practical. We like to dress it up in the language of love and friendship, and often those genuine feelings are there. But beneath them, often unconscious, is an exchange. You provide me with a sense of stability, I provide you with a sense of adventure. You listen to my problems, I help you solve your practical ones. This is not inherently cynical, it is the glue of social life. A sudden change occurs when one party's utility to the other expires. You may have served a purpose in their life. You were a bridge out of loneliness after a breakup, a source of validation during a period of low self-esteem, a connection to a social circle they desired, a project for their nurturing side. When that season of their life ends, when they find a partner, gain confidence, enter a new circle, or tire of the project, your utility diminishes. The emotional or practical calculus shifts. You are no longer a necessary asset in the ecosystem of their life. The change in their behavior is not necessarily malicious, it is systemic. They are reallocating energy to new assets. You experience this as being dropped, ghosted, or demoted from confidant to acquaintance. It feels like a betrayal of what was, in your eyes, a genuine bond. In the cold mechanics of social survival, it is simply a rebalancing of a portfolio. The bond was genuine, but it was also functional. When the function ceased, the bond's foundation crumbled.
We must also confront the uncomfortable role of envy, which is a silent poison that works slowly and then manifests decisively. It is rare for someone to openly admit to envying you. More often, they will cheer for your successes, all while each victory of yours is a tiny, invisible nick in their own self-regard. They may not even be fully conscious of it themselves. They feel a vague unease around you, a reluctance to celebrate too heartily, a need to subtly downplay your achievements. This envy builds like a sediment to the bottom of their heart. Your continued success, or worse, your happy obliviousness to their inner struggle, adds layer upon layer. Then, something happens. Perhaps you experience a setback, and instead of compassion, they feel a secret, shameful thrill. Or perhaps you achieve something so grand, it finally shatters their ability to compare themselves to you favorably. In that moment, the relationship becomes untenable for them. To continue would be to live in the permanent shadow of their own inadequacy, a feeling they have projected onto you. Their sudden distance, their critical turn, their passive-aggressive comments, this is the envy finally surfacing for air. It is not that they have changed, it is that their hidden resentment can no longer be contained by the pretense of friendship. They must create distance to stop the poison from killing them, and in doing so, they often administer a dose of it to you. People are also governed by hidden loyalties, loyalties that supersede all others. A loyalty to a parent's worldview, even a destructive one. A loyalty to a childhood class identity. A loyalty to a first love, or to a vision of themselves that is now obsolete. These loyalties are silent commandments. They operate below the level of conscious choice. When a person begins to outgrow these hidden loyalties, a profound terror can set in. To change, to truly become their own person, would be a betrayal of this deep, archaic code. It would mean admitting that a parent was wrong, that their childhood was not idyllic, that their former self was naive. The psyche often chooses sabotage over betrayal. So, just as they are on the cusp of a breakthrough, a healthier relationship, a more authentic career, a new level of confidence, they will suddenly, inexplicably, revert. They will pick a fight with their supportive partner. They will sabotage a professional opportunity. They will return to old destructive habits. To the outside world, this looks like a sudden change back into a worse self. In reality, it is a retreat into the familiar prison of a hidden loyalty. The change is a failure of courage, a desperate dash back into the dungeon because the light of freedom is too blinding. They choose the known misery over the terrifying responsibility of a free, self-authored life. Finally, we must acknowledge the simple, profound power of exhaustion. The human spirit can bear a great deal, but it is not infinitely resilient. There is a limit to the number of times a person can explain themselves, teach someone how to love them, ask for a basic consideration, or suppress their own needs for the comfort of others. This limit is different for everyone, but it exists. Reaching this limit is not a dramatic event, it is a quiet surrender. It is the moment the water wears the stone through. One day, they simply lack the energy to perform the emotional labor the relationship requires. They stop initiating repairs after a conflict. They stop offering vulnerable parts of themselves to be misunderstood or ignored. They stop hoping for comprehension. It is not anger that drives this change, it is fatigue, a deep, bone-level weariness with the dysfunctional dance. The change seems sudden because the last time you saw them, they were still dancing. But in the interim, their feet stopped moving, their arms dropped to their sides, they walked off the floor. They didn't announce their departure, they just sat down, too tired to take another step. And from your place on the dance floor, still moving to the old rhythm, their stillness looks like a rejection. It is not. It is the end of a long depletion. They have nothing left to give, not even an explanation. These are the unspoken processes behind the sudden changes we witness in others. They are almost never about you and the way you think. They are about the internal reorganizations, the silent reckonings, the private liberations and defeats that happen in the sealed chamber of a single human heart. When someone changes suddenly, you are not witnessing a whim, you are witnessing the final visible act of a long hidden drama. The curtain has fallen. The play was performed in the dark for an audience of one. You are simply seeing the actors walk off the stage, their faces already shifting out of character, returning to a self you may never know.